next speaker, how do you sell ticket online? What do you use? Eventbrite. Okay, that was, thank you, Juma. Eventbrite, I think, is the largest. They have unbelievable numbers. And we have here, obviously, one of the founder and CTO. And by the way, at the end of his presentation, if you want, I asked him just for a few minutes if you have some question or something that you're curious about. I just come in and we get some interaction. You still with me? Yes. All right, okay. Renaud Visage, here we are. Hi, Renaud. Welcome, welcome.
Hi everyone, it's great to be here. I just learned that the director of Maxi is using us, so it's great justification that why we're here and why we want to be successful in Italy. Well, and that's part of the reason why I'm here today. I wanted to talk about self-service technologies today because it's one of the biggest factors in our success so far. It seems trivial like that, but it has a big impact on anything that has to do with design, with user experience, and thinking about your companies or the future businesses that you can develop and create in terms of how you can apply self-service to a different model or to your existing company really helps push the envelope and bring innovation to the space. You've all heard about collaborative economy, the sharing economy. All of these are a result of the push towards more self-service. More and more people want to be in control of the experience. They want to have the companies they're dealing with, companies that they trust, that they feel comfortable doing business with. And if you're not projecting this image to your clients or to the people in general, you are failing in some part and someone else will do it better than you. So what is self-service? I have a textbook definition. It's a type of retail business where customers help themselves to the products that they wish to purchase. That's kind of the old definition. I think we're in a transition phase. Self-service has evolved a lot over the last 10 years or so. The web made it possible. There were a lot of older technologies that were synonymous to self-service, but they had a bad rep. I mean, you all have the stereotypes of self-service. You call support line, and it takes you over 20 different menus that you get lost in, and you have nowhere to reach someone to actually talk about your problem. Or it tries to do voice recognition, and you can't get understood, especially if you have a slight accent like me, and you're in the US, you're going to get bounced around and never find the support that you need. So I think still for most of us, self-service looks like this. It's painful, it hurts, you feel depressed after you call the support line. That hurts your brand. You might not be aware of it because it's self-service, so you don't even talk to people. You don't know that they hate you secretly. So a big part of the success of self-service is knowing what your customers feel, how they feel about your brand, how they feel about the engagements that they have with your company every day. And these are things that we started measuring way back when we launched the company in 2006. We measure Net Promoter Score, which is a benchmark for companies doing business and having service issues. They measure on a scale of 0 to 10. They get measured by their users on a scale to 0 to 10, and only the 9 and 10 counts for the score. So it's one thing we look at every day. We do customer satisfaction surveys and all kinds of different touch points with our clients to know that they still love us. And it's very important. You see it change week after week, depending on what things you release, problems you might have with the site, and it's a great benchmark to keep. This feeling comes mostly because you're not being adequately treated by the brand. The brand doesn't understand your need. It doesn't create the solutions that you need to fully engage with your customers and help them help themselves. So why are companies doing it? And there's 3 reasons mostly: to save money. That's the holy grail for a customer service department. Nobody calls ever. Everybody's happy out there. But the truth is, it's not that easy. A lot of companies have tried, have invested billions of dollars into self-service platforms, but they're not getting the satisfaction that they expected from this investment. So think hard about the ways that you're catering to your clients and make sure you're making your customers happy and not just saving money. Saving time is a big factor. We all stress for time in our lives. We want answers fast now. So that's one of the major reasons for the emergence of all these different businesses that rely on self-service. And then finally, I think that's the main one for the tech companies of today. It's to scale. That's the only way you can really scale a business, if the customers that are using your product don't have to talk to you. We've hosted 1.5 million events so far in our life, in our 7 years, and we would not have been made it to this number of events if we had to engage with every single customer we had. So we had to find solutions that to direct the right questions to the right people and postpone the need to talk to someone physical until they really have to. When they really have a problem that they're stuck, you still need that level of service. So does self-service means no service? I hope not. And that's a trap I think a lot of companies go into. They think that if it's all out there, why should I bother having people on the phone answering questions? And that's, I mean, you understand that this is wrong. We have a very large customer service department, even though we're a self-service platform. We have about 50 people who work 24/7 to answer our clients' questions. We don't have phone support in Italy, but that's going to come soon. So it's one of our competitive advantages. We have people on the phone 24/7 to help you with your problems, and that really counts. The things to think about when you're designing self-service, and it has a lot to do with design. I think the user experience is evolving. People's expectations of what the user experience is evolving as well. You now have a multitude of gadgets like these to engage with companies, and thinking about the experience on all the devices and are you fulfilling your customers' needs on each device is pretty critical nowadays. So it brings the barrier a bit higher for entry and to please everyone, but that's a concern you have to think about. They have to feel accompanied throughout their journey within your product. They have to feel like they are finding the right adequate guidance when they use your product. A lot of times we think about the functionality a lot more than how people will be engaging with your product. So do user testing. I just had a friend trying to set up an event the other day, and I watched what she was doing and realized that it's not as clear as we think it is. So we're constantly iterating on the user experience to make it more seamless, to make it easier, to make it more intuitive, and to add contextual information where it needs to be. So who is the self in self-service? It's not your company, it's not your shareholders, it's the user. So think like a user. And it's easier said than done. There's a lot of users out there. Our platform is used by big corporations, individuals, foundations, all kinds of different types of clients that have very different needs. So think about all the different potential users of your service and put yourself in their shoes. Do they know tech well? Are they comfortable creating web presence, for example? Are they tech savvy at all? Think about all these things when you're designing your self-service platform. And why should they care about self-service? I mean, it's in their interest to find the solutions to their questions as fast as possible, anytime they want. You're not controlling that. They're going to be using your product on Sunday night because that's the only time they have available. If they're not finding the solution online, then what do? Are they going to your competitor, or they're just giving up on their project? So think about these things when you're designing self-service platforms. And you want to save time and money, so think about as well, how do you interface all these different channels to help your customers, how you interlink them all so that the personal service that needs humans to staff is the very last resort that they're going to use. So I'm going to go into some of the most successful self-service platforms that have emerged over the last 10 years or so that you understand that they share the same principles. They are all designed to make your life easier by putting you in control. They were supposed to appear separately, but Zipcar, it's like short-term rental of cars in the US. They sold for 500 million to Avis, and the principle is that you don't interact with anyone. You have a card, you put the card on the dashboard, it opens the door, you reserve online, you can change everything online. If you have a problem, you can always call someone, but it's pretty self-service, and you know exactly what the inventory of cars is near your house. So it takes the rental business and puts a spin on it. We'll see what Avis does with that. It's going to be an interesting evolution for the self-service business. How do big companies integrate these different ways of doing business into their existing and a bit more older business models? And then we have Etsy, that's a marketplace for artisans, for craft makers, people who create objects, individual objects that they sell online. So they were able to create a very large-scale marketplace by building their trust. Trust is something I'll come back to. Building a brand that's synonymous to the concept. Like their tagline is, the marketplace we make together. That's really important, I think, to know your identity and define and communicate that clearly to your users. Marketplaces are tricky. You need to have reviews, ratings, building that trust between consumers. That's pretty hard to do, and a few companies are doing it well. And then you have Airbnb, brand new model, brand new industry, totally based on self-service. They connect people who want to stay somewhere with people who have a space to share or to rent. Great model, it's exploding. But they had issues along the line. Someone trashed the place they were staying at, and it really hurt their trust level. But they reacted and they implemented a fund that finances the room owners if something like that happens, up to $50,000 or $100,000. So it's really important to continue building that trust even when things go wrong. And then I'm a little biased about this one, but it's Eventbrite. We started 7 years ago to really revolutionize the event space. There were no self-service platforms out there to manage events before. We were the first one. We thought about the concept. We saw that there were no tools to cater to small events or even medium-sized events like this one. And we set out to create the best tool to manage everything yourself. Some of our principles, we try to be as friction-free as possible. We use a lot of big data to do a lot of the fraud detection, for example, so we don't have to block you at any point. We do that in the back end, and if you create a fraudulent event, we'll catch you anyway, but it doesn't hurt the user experience. We try to focus on UX. We have an entire team that's dedicated on making the product simpler, easier to use, more intuitive at all times. And then we created the right tools for the right platforms. An iPhone is not going to replace the desktop for some complicated workflows. So we made the things that made sense onto the iPhone, onto the iPad, but not everything. And these principles have allowed us to scale, and that's one of the big pillars of self-service. It allows you to scale. We have sites in 14 countries in 7 languages. We have 2 offices, San Francisco. We have more than 250 people in San Francisco and 20 in London that cater to the European business. Some numbers, we had 1.5 million events hosted on our platform. We've sold 135 million tickets. When I wrote these slides, it was 130 million. It was about a month ago. So we sold 5 million tickets over the last month, and it's accelerating even more. We're probably going to reach $1 billion worth of ticket sales this year. So you see the scale that we're arriving to. And then we had events all over the place. So self-service platforms, by definition, are usable by anyone, anywhere. And that's really the strength. I think Airbnb is available all over the world, and we are as well, mostly in English in most countries, but we're working towards a more global brand that will be available in different languages everywhere you go. So how did we, what is important when you think about self-service? I think one of the core principles is establishing trust. So it's not only trust in your brand, and that's a big difference from previous years and previous economies. It's also establishing trust between the players who are involved in your business. So in our case, it's a marketplace. We have organizers on one hand, we have attendees on the other, and we need to cater for both. We need to make sure when you buy a ticket, you're sure it's for this event and not someone else's fake event that you'll spend money on and you'll never get to. So all these processes you need to put in place and really focus on to build the trust in your brand. It's called the trust economy, and we'll see that more and more, I think, as we go, determining your identity. Are you a real person? Are you adequately doing business within the terms of the company that you're using? All these things you need to measure and put some processes in place to review. Ease of use, that's one of our biggest seller. Without this point, I don't think we would have been so successful. It takes exactly 5 minutes to go from nothing to selling tickets for an event. And that's pretty critical in our days where time is so precious. And always think about how can I improve my product. I mean, that seems simple, but we are complacent sometimes. We think we have a great product because people use it, but the truth is it's not as great as it should be. And you should spend the time and effort to constantly evolve your product and go back to the workflows that you created 5 years ago and see if they still make sense. A lot of ours don't, and we're working hard to fix them. And then look at technology advances out there. How can you capitalize on these and integrate them into your products? Facebook didn't really take off until 2008 for us, but we were watching and we integrated as quickly as we could when it made sense. Smartphones didn't really exist at the time, but we developed the right products to do entry management, for example, as soon as they became more mainstream and we could make an impact with these different technologies. And finally, think about, and that's usually not a slide that's used with usefulness, but you are trying to help your customers reach new heights, sell more, whatever they do on your site. So think about that. How can you build a process or a product that is a win-win situation? In our case, it's a win-win-win situation. We have organizers use our product. We help them do that, sell more tickets, and make you happy in the process with a great checkout experience, a great mobile app that you can use anywhere. So all these things tie the knot and make everyone happy in the process. Also important in the self-service world, it's letting your customers help each other. Find ways where they can interact, create forums, create places where they can exchange. They all have tricks on how they use our platforms and they want to share that. So if you help them do that, you'll be rewarded by less service that you need to provide. And personal contact is also very important. And these are all the people who are helping us every day. Stay in touch with our users, help them set up, answer your questions when you don't know where to go for your event. All the things that are not available online sometimes and they need someone to reach, and we have these people. On that note, I wanted to share my personal contacts. If you have any feedback on the product, feel free to reach me. I've heard a couple already, and we want to improve. We want to get better, especially in the new markets we're entering. So feel free to reach out. And I think do yourself a favor today. Think about ways that you can help someone or help others in general help themselves. I think you'll be rewarded in the long run, and that has been successful for us, and I hope it can be for you as well. Thank you.
Hold on. Did you just leave your mobile phone?
Yeah. We'll see how many people call.
You know what will happen, you know. Every day someone will go, hey, Renaud.
That's fine, I want to hear about it, because the worst thing is people can use the product for some reason or another, and that we need to fix.
Good luck with that. So, the first question for Renaud has a free for life Eventbrite, no fees. I'm joking. I want to do that. If it's just a question, I'm going to come to get it, because feel free to just show me your hand and tell me something. Just help me. All right, Giovanna, right there.
Payments, payments, payments.
Yeah, straight to the
A
point.
lot of people are confused by going through PayPal, and they don't understand why in the Italian side you're not yet integrated with Visa, MasterCard, Amex, etc.
Very good question. We're working on that. Italy is a bit special. You need to have a local presence to establish a bank account and to be able to process funds here. So that's what we're working on. But it's on our priority list for sure. We know our product is not quite up there yet in terms of functionality, and payments is a big part of our functionality. So we'll have that very soon.
It's also integrating with, I think, with Stripe or this kind of payment processor. Could be.
Not Stripe.
No. Sorry. Oh, the gosh.
They're not in Italy, so we can use them.
I'm coming there. Sorry, guys.
Hello, we're
Hi.
trying to use your service for TED per Roma, and we try to understand how can you figure out the difference between categories? Like if you have categories for students, for startups, etc. How your company figure out the differences?
You define it, we don't.
Yeah, we define it, but okay, when they come to register online, how can you check it?
Well, you can ask for their age, you can ask for their student ID. I mean, you have powerful questionnaires you can create.
So we have to ask this, or your company?
You have to create it yourself. It's part of self-service.
Wow.
So there's a part where you can create custom questions. And that's where you should ask whatever method of verification you need to verify that they're students, their student ID or something that validates them as a student.
And then you will progress that by checking what is valid and what's not.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. I let you with a private Q&A with Renaud. You can call him on the phone later if you want.
Exactly.
Any other question? Can we let Renaud go? All right, Renaud Visage, thank you so much.
Thank you
so much.